I ask about sometimes.
Alrighty, so this will be RCCR Creative Critical Reflection for the Avian. My name's Autumn Oldridge.
I'm Chloe Morris.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues?
So one way that our product challenged conventions was through our ability to start and in more of a thriller context. It was very fast paced in that initial dream sequence, and it kind of stayed that way for a little bit of our final product. However, it did slow down to more of a fantasy-esque, sequence of how we were planning for things to go. We wanted it to be a very fantasy-heavy movie because it is in the fantasy genre. However, we did want it to be more thriller and fast-paced because it's also an adventure-type story that we are trying to tell. And yeah, in our fantasy movie, we used the idea, the trope of the big journey that the character goes on to solidify that. It is implied in our last scene by you will do great things, my child, or you're destined for greatness, I hope to see you soon, said by the mother. That kind of solidified the idea of how she's going to be going on this epic journey throughout the movie. And another thing that you kind of have to look a little closer into the context of the movie for social issues, is challenging the convention of always having that nuclear family dynamic. Because that is not really how many families operate. Many of them do not have the two-parent household with some siblings in it. In Cassiopeia's daytime sequence, the only person we saw was her. We didn't really see anyone else in her family. So we can not really assume that she has many people there for her.
To support her
to support her. Yeah. But then when we see during her dream sequences in the fantasy world, she gets to meet her mother. And she seems like it's kind of like a foreign concept of, oh my goodness, I do have a mother. It's like she's a real thing. It's crazy. And then with that, her father figure isn't really in the movie much, but it can be inferred that the Magic Man will become that, and will be able to help her through her challenges to figure out the more fantasy trope type thing of who she really is.
How does your product engage with audience, and how would it distribute as a real media text?
So, as for how it would probably be distributed as a real media text, it would most likely initially start out only in theaters, as many fantasy movies are. Many fantasy movies are very high budget and very big, and they're trying to make a lot of money. And most of the time, the best way to do that is through releasing it in theaters. So I believe our movie, The Avian, would be released in theaters. It may then be bought up by one of the streaming services like Hulu or something like that, to be streamed on there. However, I don't believe that would be our main source of distribution. Our audience of our film, I think, would be more teenage, young adult type people, due to the more fun aspect and more journey that the character goes on. It just doesn't feel like it's childish enough to be a kid's movie. Like I said, because of that thriller aspect in the beginning, I feel, it has a lot of emotion in it, and I feel like it would better appeal to the older, not adults, but older teenager audience.
How did your production skills develop throughout this project?
So definitely a good example of how our skills got better as we went on was our first day. We didn't actually use any of our shots from the first day in our final product because we were still trying to figure out exactly what we were going to be doing and how we wanted to get these shots. One of our difficulties with specifically getting shots throughout in our production was some of them have very difficult angles to get. For example, the mirror shots in both the final shot where she's looking into the mirror, she sees her wings and stuff, and then also in the bathroom to simulate that she's looking at a mirror, she's looking back at herself the whole time. Both of those were quite difficult shots to get, and we definitely had to think very creatively in order to get those. We used a lot of painter's tape. And then even on like the first day of our filming, because we didn't really get to any of like the mirror shots in the first day, what we had to figure out how to do was get that bird's eye view shot of Cassiopeia laying down in the bed. We had tried standing on a stool and holding it over top, but that was really difficult to sit camera. So we weren't able to like center it correctly. We tried putting it on a yardstick, taping it to that, hanging it over Cassiopeia, and it just didn't work. And then we finally had to stand over her, like on each side of Cassiopeia and stand directly over her to get that shot. So I think definitely throughout our production, the ability to problem solve and think creatively on how to get these shots definitely became more commonplace for us. Because in our last shot, I'm calling on this once again, but our last shot with the mirror, we were able to figure out a solution to that really quickly to be able to get that shot and finish filming.
How did you integrate technologies, software, hardware, and online in this project?
So specifically in the realm of software, I know that you did most of the editing and you showed me along with most of the stuff for it, which I definitely thank you for doing most of the editing. The final product turned out amazing. But throughout the editing process, we used two different technologies, softwares, being Splice and CapCut. Splice was mainly used to put the sequences of film together into one actual video, and then CapCut was used in the more special effects realm of adding in a more contrast in our dream sequences to solidify the idea that that is this fantasy world and it's out of the ordinary, it's not a regular place. And also add in our sound, our music was online. I'm gonna move on to online with the topic of the music specifically. So we posted our final film on YouTube to be able to add it into our blogs and post it and stuff. And one of our issues with that was the music that we used, because our music was it was from YouTube, and the person had a kind of a, I guess, copyright on it. However, we were able to still post it without any major issues with the person who made the music. I know you even reached out to him through the website that he owns, and I think you emailed him, right? Yeah, to be able to attempt to get definite permission, this is okay, it's fine. And we only used 2 minutes of hour and a half sequence of music. So it wasn't a lot, and we were able to just keep getting through that. In terms of the hardware that we use, we both filmed with each of our different phones, because my phone was better at taking more of the inside shots. It had a different quality to it than your camera did. Your camera was better at the contrast and the outside. That also helped with the effects of it, making it seem like this, her in the bedroom, that scene is in a different place than the forest scenes where she's in the fantasy world. Yeah, that's it.